You're not failing. You're being played. Why do you feel like you're running in circles no matter how hard you work? Why does getting ahead always seem just out of reach? Like no matter how much you save, cut back, or hustle, you're still stuck. It's not a personal failure. It's the system doing exactly what it was designed to do. The system profits from your struggle. Elizabeth Warren has exposed the truth. The financial industry doesn't just benefit from your struggle, it depends on it. Think about it. Banks encourage credit card debt because the interest keeps you paying forever. Mortgage companies push people into longer, more expensive loans that eat away at their financial future. The stock market tells you to invest for the long term, but hides the real risks behind fancy projections and expert predictions. And when you fall behind, they're right there with fees, penalties, and new solutions that dig the hole even deeper. Your exhaustion is not a coincidence. The cycle you're stuck in? It's not bad luck. It's by design. You work hard. You take on debt to survive or build credit. You make payments, but the balance never seems to shrink. You try to save, but rising costs keep squeezing you tighter. You start to believe maybe you're just bad with money. But the truth? This system was never built to let you win. If everyone got out of debt, if people actually built wealth and gained control, the financial industry would collapse. So they keep you locked in. How much of your stress is manufactured? Ask yourself, how much of your financial stress is real? And how much has been created to keep you trapped? How much of your income goes straight to interest, fees, and penalties instead of building your future? How many of your financial decisions are based on fear, pressure, and artificial urgency? Because the moment you realize this isn't your fault, it's their plan, that's the moment you start playing by your own rules. The business of keeping you in the red. Debt isn't just a financial burden, it's a business model. Elizabeth Warren has been saying it for years. The financial system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed. And that design, it depends on you staying in debt forever. They don't want you to pay it off. They want you stuck. Credit card companies, banks, lenders, they don't just lend money, they sell debt. Interest rates are structured so that if you make only the minimum payment, you'll be paying for decades. Mortgage loans get stretched longer, so you end up paying 2 or 3 times the home's original price. Car loans used to be 3 years. Now they push 6 or 7 years because they know you'll pay more in interest. And every time you think you're making progress, they hit you with something else. Hidden fees, penalties, and fine print are the real profit centers. The money they make isn't just from interest, it's from everything else they can squeeze out of you. Late fees that add up the second you miss a payment. Overdraft fees that charge you $35 for spending $5 more than you had. Processing fees, maintenance fees, inactivity fees, just for the privilege of using your own money. Ask yourself, how much have you paid just to access what you already earned? Because every fee, every fine print loophole, every penalty, it's all designed to drain your extra dollars before you can ever get ahead. Your debt is their lifeline. The system's profits grow every time you make a minimum payment. They win every time you carry a balance. They thrive every time you miss a due date. But when you escape debt, that's a problem. Why do you think they offer debt consolidation plans that just stretch your payments longer? Why do they hand out credit cards to college students who don't even have jobs? Why do they make sure your loan balance never seems to shrink? Because if people actually got out of debt, the financial industry would collapse. So, who's really winning? If your debt keeps them rich, then what does that make you? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Why confusion is their favorite weapon? When was the last time you truly understood every word of a financial agreement you signed? A credit card application? A mortgage contract? A loan agreement? If you're like most people, you didn't read it all. And even if you tried, the legal jargon shifting interest rates and endless fine print made it impossible to fully understand. That's not an accident. That's the system working exactly as designed. Confusion is the point. Elizabeth Warren has exposed this for years. Financial products are intentionally complicated because complexity is a weapon. The more confusing a contract is, the more power the lender has. Credit cards come with variable APRs, penalty interest rates, and hidden fees that most cardholders don't notice until it's too late. Loans are loaded with prepayment penalties, balloon payments, and sneaky refinancing traps that stretch your debt longer than you expected. Bank accounts charge monthly fees, overdraft penalties, and maintenance costs that quietly drain your balance without you realizing what's happening. And when you try to ask questions, you get vague answers, scripted responses, and legalese that makes your head spin. Because the goal isn't to help you understand, it's to get you to sign and comply. How confusion keeps you stuck. Most people don't fight bad financial deals because they don't even know they're in one. They trust the bank, the lender, the financial expert on the other side of the table. They assume if something were really bad, someone would warn them. But the financial industry isn't built on transparency. It's built on making sure you feel too overwhelmed to push back. Because the more confused you are, the easier it is for them to take more of your money. Financial ignorance isn't accidental. It's profitable. They don't want you to read the fine print. They don't want you to question the terms. They don't want you to ask, wait, why is this so complicated? Because once you start asking those questions, you stop being an easy target. Stop accepting confusion as normal. If understanding your own money feels like a battle, ask yourself why that is. Because the moment you stop accepting confusion as normal, you start taking back control. And the financial system? It only wins as long as you stay in the dark. The trap of just pay more and why it never ends. You're doing everything right. You work hard, you cut back, you throw every spare dollar at your debt, trying to get ahead. So why does the balance never seem to shrink? The system moves the finish line. Elizabeth Warren has been warning for years. No matter how hard you try to pay off your debts, the system is designed to keep you trapped. The moment you think you're making progress, something shifts. Wages stay flat, but your rent, groceries, and insurance keep climbing. Interest builds up faster than you can pay it down, turning a small loan into an unbreakable chain. Even when you make extra payments, hidden fees and compounding interest push the finish line further away. You're running on a treadmill that speeds up every time you get close to stepping off. Debt that grows while you sleep. Look at what's happening around you. Student loans double or triple in size because of years of interest, leaving borrowers paying for decades. Mortgages stretch for 30+ years, with most payments going toward interest, not the actual home. Medical bills don't just disappear, they get sold to collectors, stacking up penalties and fees that turn a $1,000 bill into a $10,000 crisis. And the worst part? The system tells you it's your fault, that you're not working hard enough, not budgeting well enough, not doing whatever it takes. But what if the real problem isn't you? It's the game you've been forced to play. Just pay more is a lie. Be honest. How long have you been throwing every spare dollar at your debts? And why do they feel bigger than ever? Because this isn't about working harder. It's about understanding that the system is built to drain every extra dollar you make. The second you pay off one debt, another expense rises to take its place. The second you earn more, your cost of living swallows it whole. The second you start to feel in control, they change the rules. Are you in control, or just surviving someone else's game? If working harder was the answer, you'd be debt-free by now. So maybe it's time to stop playing by their rules. Because as long as you believe just pay more is the solution, you'll keep running in circles while the system keeps winning. How they sell struggle as success. You work hard, you pay your bills, you make it to the next paycheck, and somehow that's supposed to be an achievement. Society has convinced you that survival crowns success, that barely scraping by, managing endless bills and juggling debt is something to be proud of. But Elizabeth Warren sees through the lie. Struggle isn't success, it's a business model. Why they want you to celebrate survival? Think about it. You get praised for making your student loan payments on time, but no one asks why it'll take decades to pay them off. You're considered smart for managing your mortgage responsibly, but no one questions why you'll pay twice the home's price in interest. You're seen as responsible for working multiple jobs just to afford rent, when the real question is, why is rent so impossible to afford? You're not winning, you're just not drowning. And that's exactly the way they want it. The system rebranded struggle as success. Elizabeth Warren warns that freedom isn't out of reach by accident. The system was built to make you feel grateful for simply surviving. Wages stay flat, costs go up, debt keeps you locked in. And instead of fixing the system, they just lower the bar, telling you to be proud of getting by, instead of asking why you're stuck there in the first place. Grinding through life isn't something to celebrate. How many times have you felt proud just for keeping your head above water? How many times have you been told, at least you're making it, as if that's all you should expect? You've been trained to accept exhaustion, stress, and struggle as normal. But they're not signs of success. They're signs that the system is working exactly as intended, keeping you just stable enough to function, but never free enough to walk away. Are you really succeeding or just playing their game? Ask yourself, would you still call it success if you weren't exhausted? If you weren't struggling just to keep up? Because real success isn't about managing the grind, it's about escaping it. Why the system hates people who learn the rules. The financial system doesn't just rely on people making bad choices, it depends on it. Elizabeth Warren has made it clear. Once people understand how money really works, they become unprofitable to the industry. And the system, I hate that. Why keeping you in the dark is profitable. Think about who makes money when you stay in debt, overpay in interest, and sign contracts without reading the fine print. Banks profit when you swipe your credit card without thinking. Lenders make billions when you stretch a mortgage over 30 years. Financial institutions thrive on your late fees, penalties, and bad assumptions. But what happens when people learn the rules? The people who break the system. The person who reads the fine print and walks away from a predatory loan. The investor who builds assets instead of chasing trends. The worker who negotiates higher pay instead of just accepting what's offered. The family who lives debt-free, cutting off the system's cash flow. These people break the cycle. They stop being customers and start being free. And that's exactly why financial knowledge is dangerous, because when enough people wake up, the game stops working. What would happen if you stopped accepting everything at face value? If you started questioning every interest rate, fee, and contract before signing? If you stopped borrowing money you didn't actually need? If you build wealth that doesn't rely on banks, lenders, or market hype? What would the system do without you feeding it? They want you passive, uninformed, and obedient. You're not supposed to ask questions. You're not supposed to push back. You're supposed to stay in debt, follow the rules, and keep the machine running. Step up, learn the rules, play a different game. This system was built to trap people who don't know any better. But once you see it for what it is, you can start playing a different game. A game where you finally win. Are you ready for that? Or are you going to keep playing the way they expect you to? Choose to stay trapped or take back control. You have two choices. You can keep following the script, work hard, pay your bills, keep up with your debts, and still feel stuck, exhausted and behind. Or you can wake up, learn how the system actually works. Start building something for yourself instead of fueling an economy that thrives on keeping you broke. Breaking free and rejecting normal society tells you there's a right way to live, get an education, and take on massive student debt. Work hard, but watch wages stay flat while prices climb. Buy a home with a mortgage that keeps you paying for 30 years. Invest in the market and cross your fingers it doesn't crash before you retire. And if you just follow these steps, everything will be fine. Except it's not. Because after doing everything right, most people are still drowning in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, wondering why financial freedom feels impossible. That's not bad luck. That's the design. Comfort is the system's greatest trap. The system wants you to be comfortable. Not comfortable enough to be free. Just enough to keep working, keep paying, and keep believing that eventually things will get better. But look around. How many people do you know who work their whole lives, only to reach retirement broke, tired and full of regrets? How many people never questioned the system until it was too late? How much longer are you willing to play a rigged game? Ask yourself, how much longer do you want to feel stuck, even though you're working harder than ever? How much longer will you ignore the fact that the system is built to bleed you dry? How much longer will you keep hoping things work out instead of making a real change? The time to take control is now. If you're tired of being a pawn in their game, stop playing by their rules. Stop blindly trusting the system. Stop living for payments and debt. Stop believing that struggle is just part of life. Because the system only wins as long as you stay trapped. Are you finally ready to break free? Or are you going to keep feeding the machine that's been draining you for years? If you're done being a pawn in someone else's profit plan, prove it. Comment, break the system, if you're ready to take control of your future. Most people will keep working, paying and stressing forever, never realizing they were trapped on purpose. But the few who wake up now, they're the ones who will finally break out. And this is just the beginning. There are bigger financial lies to expose, deeper traps designed to keep you stuck. Only the ones willing to face the full truth will escape with their freedom intact. Stay locked in. It's time to win.